Hey there, everybody. Good afternoon and welcome to the Growth Execution Podcast. This is the third of our episodes in the launch season, which is the third of our seasons on this podcast. You're all very welcome. I'm delighted to be joined today by Mikus Opelts of Giraffe 360. Hi there, Mikus. How are you?
Hey, Mel. I'm great. Thanks for having me today.
A real, genuine pleasure. So you are working with a really exciting business right now. And I just wanted to start off by just getting a real feel for what it is that you guys do.
Giraffe 360, in a simplest form to explain it, we build a camera for real estate agents to replace the cumbersome process of creating content for listings.
Got it. And it does all sorts of other funky things, like it picks up a floor plan, it does 360-degree views and walkthroughs and that sort of stuff too, right?
Spot on. Yeah, so we are looking on our product. We wanted to give to estate agents something that would create every content that's required today. And today you need floor plan photography and virtual tour. We believe that's the standard. So throughout technology, the camera automatically creates all those three things on high level quality, all beautiful, all nice.
It's an amazing thing, and we'll talk soon about the kind of the impact of the pandemic and how that's changed the business a little bit too. But I wanted to start, as we always do, by talking about your launch. So, how long ago did you set up Giraffe 360, and why on earth did you?
We started in 2016. The beginning date is a pretty, as every company. It's not the one day when the company starts, but it's 4 years now going, and but we were actually a spin-off from my first company that I launched now 10 years ago already, like a bit more. So which was a virtual tour and other interactive technology service providers. So we wanted to build a product, something that's scalable to service global market, and Giraffe 360 was the form and the package how we saw an opportunity to do that. So it kicked off as a new business in 2016.
Got it. And what's interesting there, and yeah, people watching this, people listening in, will be either thinking about launching their own business or will have done so in the past. What was it that made you change from what you were previously doing? What was the kind of driver from what you're previously doing to then what you're doing with Giraffe 360?
Good question. It took me a lot of years to learn the answer to this. It's business model, because my first business is a B2B service company, and B2B service company has some pros and cons. And on the downside, it's a people's business where you service customers, and it scales to certain levels. So scalability is limited. The growth is based on referrals. So for 7 years straight, my first company grew 100% a year, but it could never grow more, because it grew because we were providing good service, and in the region and in the market we were providing that. And the more we grow, the more people we need. So scalable, and it kind of just bulks up the process of managing a complex business where a lot of things depends on the people, not on the processes. So, and when thinking about Giraffe 360, I wanted to actually, I had three KPIs. We didn't know what we're gonna do, but I said to my brother, who's my partner, it has to be scalable. We have to be able to service customer in Japan, Tokyo, New York, and London with no problem. And second, it has to be product. So it's not driven by individual person does that, but it has a product package. And third one, the niche has to be really clear, and the use case it kind of has to be. It can't be something super wide, like, I don't know, CRM, because it's really hard. It's really hard to build businesses nowadays where I think where you don't have like a really clear niche and clear problem that you are fixing. So these were the three KPIs, and then we came up with Giraffe 360. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's right. And look, we obsess mightily about problem solving, and the fact that any business that's got any chance of going the distance needs to be solving a very specific problem and needs to do it exceptionally well, which is where we are. Why you, and why this problem?
The honest answer is I don't know. And the how I got here, it's when I was 20 in the uni, my friend showed me virtual tours. We were a bunch of students. We wanted to start our own stuff. It was 2010, economical crisis for students. Wasn't too many opportunities to grow and to kind of become professionals. So with friends, we decided, oh, let's do these virtual tours. Kind of look cool. There was not too much thinking behind it. We thought they look cool. I've studied in art school 10 years, so I like visual stuff, and we started to do it, and everything grew out of it. From virtual tours, we grew into drones, touch screens, VR, and just as a services. As my first company grew as a service company, we started to add on 3D modeling, CGI modeling, all sorts of visual interactive tech. And at one point we we started to get a good grasp of the industry, and then we took a step back, understood how it's called working, understood what specifically real estate markets as estate agencies, which is the biggest segment in the market, needs, and thought we know what's the product, and let's build it. So that's the honest story.
Yeah, I love it.
I didn't wake up one day and then I want my life to be virtual tours and remote viewings.
Yeah. Like the sun over there just kind of shot in one day and went, "This is your calling."
No. It's evolved. It makes sense looking backwards, but there was no kind of. It has been more pragmatic, as I think it always ends up being.
Sure, and but as we said, there needs to be a problem, and what is the problem? What is it that this fixes?
Yeah, so specifically at Jura 360, what we looked, the problem is that getting property online, it's too complicated, and thus it's expensive. And when I say online, I mean visually, so we can experience it. And to experience property in the same way as you would do it in the real life, you need to have a full visual layout of the space, and that encompasses two levels. One is the floor plan level, to see the property, how it works out. Another is the viewing level, how you walk around, and then you need to go to what's the area level, and you could really go deep of what's the information that needs to be provided. And historically, what's our key digital content capture device? It's the smartphone. That's the amazing device, but it more or less does photography and video. So photography and video, we are pretty much sorted to have through these consumer devices. But when you want to go to the next stage and show people stuff online as a real estate, it's a cumbersome systems that are provided by service providers like my first company. And we thought it should be automatized. It should be created simple, because as soon as that service provider needs to come in, there's certain costs associated with the service, and thus the whole industry, it's kind of more still physical. And I don't know, maybe it's a generational thing, but I just don't know why I can't see everything virtually. It doesn't make sense.
Are you claiming the kind of millennial sort of why don't we just change the world kind of like.
It has to be available. And one story on that problem is, when I was the one company I was working in when I was 20, my boss asked me to find a new office, and I was driving around the city with a trolley and going into these offices, opening doors, looking in, and in 5 minutes understanding that that's not what I need. And that's when I realized, the pain in my brain is kind of huge from that experience. That's why I can't see it nicely online, and because agents can't send it to me. And so that's the bigger problem there, and we try to solve it, and I think we neatly solve it with our technology's proposition.
Got it. That's a really interesting sort of formative experience that you kind of personally had that actually kind of drove you towards it. Yeah. What do you think is the kind of biggest lesson that you've learned from launching this business? What kind of stands out as something that you're going to take into perhaps the next one and one after that?
With this my second business, so I'm way better at saying no. I said this to my colleagues a couple of times. I think I'm getting pretty good and I'm doubling down on it. If I would have to do saying no, being able to look on, somebody throws you idea, you're listening to a nice podcast and hear tactic or strategy, everybody should use Twitter or something, an ability to listen to it and say, that's cool, but I will not use it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you can only do so few things. And everybody talks about focus, but focus doesn't just arrive. Focus means saying no to lots of cool things that are good ideas, and being comfortable with saying no constantly more than you say yes, and not care what others think, because I know that for us to execute this plan, the product, and get it to the markets, we have to be focused. So it's saying no. I'm not really good at it yet, but I'm becoming better and better.
You're gonna get
Yeah.
practicing every single day. There's a brilliant book, actually. I think it's James Clear's Atomic Habits by James Clear. Really, really good book, and that really drives into this idea of saying no. And that basically you only get to say yes once to that chunk of time. So you've got to be so careful about what it is that you say yes to. And you can just keep saying no until you're absolutely sure that yes is going to be right, because you can only say yes once.
Yeah, but why I think it's so hard, it's counterintuitive for an entrepreneurial-minded person, because by definition we start things out of the blue. Should we do this product? Yeah, let's do it. It's a 30-second decision, and then to switch your mindset when you actually need to manage your path to get there, you have to become like. Like we built our own hardware, and in hardware development there are different concepts, and one concept which I really well remember is, on the first stage you want to be super explorational, like you explore ideas, you brainstorm, you talk about, but once you have formulated this is it, like this is what we're going to do, you have to switch to being executional. And on the executional stage, no is the mantra, because you need to finish what you have started, even if there is lots of mistakes. But then also you have to remember that you are wrong with lots of those concepts, and you will need to pivot and change it. So I think it's extremely counterintuitive, like for our profession to arrive to that, but and it's easier said than it's done.
That's so true. It's that kind of curiosity, isn't it, that kind of drives a lot of founders to be really interested in what's happening out there, and therefore you want to kind of experience or understand more about what other people are talking about. But like you say, the more you do that, your bandwidth just blows, and you don't finish what you start, right?
To really finish up on this, I often some colleagues ask, "Oh, do you like this?" I say yes, but then say, "Ask me, do I want to do it?" The answer is no.
That's your brain already.
Do I ask, if you ask me, do I like it, or this is a good idea? The answer mostly will be yes. It's worth like it's interesting, but are we doing it? Should we do it? Should we look into it? Should we spend even the next 5 minutes talking about it? The answer is no.
I love that. That's going to be so useful for so many people out there as well. Fantastic. So thinking about the business, and obviously talking about the kind of launch and the founding of it, why the name?
Giraffe. It's the coolest animal in jungle. That's my snippet answer. But it's not the true answer. True answer is, I think the company's name has to embody meaning. I always liked when the name has a meaning, something that allows it to go beyond the pure product functionality level. And giraffe, it's the animal that sees the most. It's in the jungle. It sees the furthest. And with our technology, we enable that sight, that opportunity to see more, to view more. And the slogan has always been around show more, see more, and thus kind of giraffe, I think, just naturally blends into that vision. So giraffe, and we added 360, so there is just a direction for where the product is going. We thought we need to be a bit technical, and it's then a question whether that's a good call or not, or bad call, because then when the technology evolves, you want to kind of see if you're outgrowing the technical aspect of the name. But yeah, Draft 360
Yeah.
it is.
Doesn't it? And how long did it take you to come up with? What was that process like?
No, it's that was 5 minutes. That
Was
was
it?
yeah, that was
So
clear.
funny.
I'm pretty big on the intent. I talk about a lot personally. What's the intent? What do we want to achieve here? And
Exactly.
once I really, define my intent there, then it's pretty easy to come up with a solution. So, do we want to be technical? Do we want to be idea driven? Okay, we want to be idea driven. If it's idea, then what's the biggest like underlying theme? It's I think it's complicated when you come from just throwing around options. I think you need the core on which to build on. So I always always done that, and I spend a lot of time speaking about intents, like what do we want to really achieve here. But then when it comes down, and then it's easy to make decisions. And so yeah, so when the intent is clear, then
I think that's absolutely right. I don't often call it kind of desired outcome. So you always got this kind of thing, right? This is what I want to be the outcome of every step along the way. And if you've, as you say, if you've got that in your mind, and again, talking to any budding entrepreneurs out there, if you know where you're going, you've got that purpose. It's just so much easier to make all the incremental decisions.
And every project, like I'm now just like right now struggling with a couple of like kind of creative projects. Every project that ends up being a mess is where that intent or the outcome, what you actually want to achieve, hasn't been clear since the beginning. It's kind of that's always, those are the most complicated projects, brainstorms. And I think I have learned it's better to say I don't know, and then let's just do something because we don't have an understanding what do we want to do. Then try to come up with something, but it never you never like it, or because you just don't know where this goes. And I think it's better to leave it open and not to decide. For example, if you don't know where this company is going, really what you want to achieve, don't bother yourself of coming up with a name.
Mm-hmm.
Just call it a project one.
Yeah.
And further down the line, you're gonna understand where this thing is going, and you're gonna come up with a name. Don't sit for weeks. Oh, we have to come up with a name. We have to come up with a name, but you don't know where this thing is going yet. So call it Project One and go with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great advice, and that because because somewhere over there is where the answer to that question is, but also is by going through the process, by thinking about, I don't know, what the pricing is going to be, how you're going to service it, what's the design of the product, something else will trigger, and then it'll become really, really clear, right?
Yeah.
And in terms of the sort of thing about the marketing side, what's your where do your customers tend to hang out, and what sort of focus have you got on that area?
I think that's one thing I think we did well. Like looking back, I've liked that we've been really focused on real estate agencies, property agencies, and we picked that customer group before we knew that we're gonna have a camera. We knew that the product will be for them, and for the last almost 4 years, we've been just doubling down on accessing this group. And whenever somebody suggests me, oh, you should work in construction or commercial estate agents, or you should do this, my answer is nope.
I think I could have guessed that.
Do I like the idea? Yes. Is there an opportunity? Yes. Are we going to do something about it? Nope, not now. So and thus our search for the customers has been pretty straightforward. We look for where estate agents are, and before COVID, we used a lot of events to meet them across Europe, and we use some platforms that speak with state agencies here in the UK and across Europe, and yeah.
Brilliant. What do you wish you had known back when you launched this? What would have made it easier?
Nothing. It's a complex. Again, yesterday we're speaking with the team, and I said, like, Freddie, he wanted to suggest like a smart concept to plan. I said, like, we're a startup. We go against, like, we push this big rock uphill. There's no smart way how you can do it. Like, kind of, we are going against time, and let's just embrace it, that it's complicated process where odds are against us, and because it's not like there's a silver bullet that, oh, if I would knew that, I would have changed that. There's every day you learn. Every day I learn stuff that I didn't know that I needed to know, and that changes what we do and how we do it. But on the other hand, it's not easy, but that's the part of the process. So, um, ah,
And do you enjoy that part?
sorry.
Do you enjoy that part?
Oh, yes and no. So no, because that's the grueling part of the day-to-day process. You don't know, but from the other hand, that's part of the profession. So of building a company, and there is, and I think that's the area where the satisfaction lies. When I have gone through that cycle, and you have really like learned it and achieved that result. So then it's kind of, we did it.
Yeah.
We did it.
That-
It wasn't easy. So it's that satisfaction is there. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Do you have? Is there anybody that you look up to as a kind of inspiration for what you do? Anybody that you kind of think is a founder in your professional life, personal life, that you think, yeah, they've pretty much done the sort of stuff that I'm really fascinated by?
Yes and no. And no, because I when I started my first company when I was 20, I was a rigorous learner. Read everything from Richard Branson, Steve Jobs. I think I read like 50 marketing and business books in the first year or so. Now I'm on a track of, like, last year I read 20 books a year, and
Okay.
one thing I've got through that cycle, and in the midst of that, I always find, oh, this is amazing, that's amazing. But what I have learned, you have to figure out your own path, and looking on others and having those idols just creates a false perception that you want to be like them.
Mhm.
And I once saw a presentation. I actually don't remember the presentation. I just saw the headline and I had to go, but that headline just stuck in my head. So that headline was, "You're not Steve Jobs." Uh,
He didn't need to say anything else.
and I think the idea is then stop act like one, and I think that's the problem with those idols, that like, I don't know, Social Network is a really popular movie about how Mark Zuckerberg built a company. So and I think the problem lies, you look on there and then you try to mimic their activities, but they're different per people, different business.
Different environment. Yeah.
Yeah, it's and then you kind of justify, oh, because, and I think the most stupidest justification, which I've done and I hear constantly, is, oh, but Apple does this. Like, yeah, but
The richest company in the world does it. What a shock.
yeah.
Not always going to be huge.
So yeah. So I think that's a long answer to a simple question, but for that particular reason, I have learned it's not to pick your heroes, and pick areas where, oh, I really like how they do this, specific companies and people, and just just learn from their experience. Yeah, but don't try to kind of create one hero and then follow the footsteps. I think it's more harm than it's good. But that doesn't mean I read my 20 books a year. That kind of I'm not kind of just leaning on my own experiences here.
Yeah, no, again, I think that's a really valuable answer. Thank you. What would you say is the main contributor to a successful launch?
Knowing what you want to do.
Yeah. So clarity.
Yeah, clarity. That's the word I use often. Clarity. Yeah. Knowing what you want to do. That comes down to focus and being able to say no to a lot of things. So clarity is key. Clarity is key, because I don't want to speak about, oh, the idea has to be good or the product needs to fit into the market. I think most of the launches are messy. People don't know what they want to do, don't know what they want to achieve, don't know how they're going to measure, and just want, and just wanting is not enough. I think that's one practical But I often have done things where I don't know, but then I say I don't know. So we're gonna just test. But then there's no. But then the success for the launch is learning, knowing. Like,
Yeah.
for example, like we don't we recently we have been actually growing pretty well in Switzerland, and but we don't know anything about the market, so we want to kind of launch more activities there, and instead of trying to kind of define now we're going to achieve X and Y, we just don't know about market. Somehow seems interested in our product very much, and let's just launch activities and learn more, and that's the plan. And if that's the goal, then we can't be. So I know that this will be successful, and then we're going to define more specific criteria.
Yeah,
I hope
so
that.
you'll always give the answer, even if it's that this doesn't work, but something else might.
Yeah. I think when you put a specific number without too much understanding, what drives it, what triggers it, what are the factors that lead into it, then it's easy to set, oh, I'm going to achieve X, and when you fall short, then you felt that you have failed, but actually, what I keep saying is, you actually learn something that can now make you achieve that, or you have learned. So, okay, you didn't hit some sort of a random number, but maybe that random was wrong, or your expectations were wrong, or the timing was wrong. There's so many things that comes. Now you have that experience, and I'm a big fan of MMA now this year because of the lockdown. I think that's now the number one sport that was going on. And
were you doing some at home on your own?
no, just watching. And I one thing I've noticed, good coaches to their fighters say it's a new round in between rounds, because it's easy when you're 2 rounds down to then get hot-headed, emotional, and get knocked out. But you have to approach every new round as a new round, and that's why putting kind of high expectations, or now I have to get this definitely done, like it's now or never, it just creates an unnecessarily emotional burden, and then you quit if you don't succeed. And just being more realistic, that, oh, this is what I learned, and this is now what I'm gonna do, is more settled, not as exciting, not as cool approach, but I think it's way more productive in the long run.
Yeah, agree. Absolutely. What is the, sorry, I'm very mindful of time. We've got a few minutes left. And what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Wow. One best advice. The best advice, I'll keep going. I will not be original. Just keep going.
Like it, just because there are going to be a lot of stuff that you don't really know is coming, and just that resilience side of things is so important, isn't it? What's the what do you think is more important when you're looking at your product or your business? Is product marketing or sales more important, do you think?
Can't pick, but we are more product focused company. We believe that you have to provide value, and then marketing and sales are the instruments to explain the value. And chicken and egg, I choose the product as the starting point, and product has to be good and fit the market. So it's hard to pick which is more important, because if one of them fails, then everything fails. But we are product first company. Like, from 70 people in our team, 63 are technical. So
that's it all. There's no like one salesperson, 2 salespeople, and that's fine, right? Particularly for a young company, that's the way you balance it. I mean, we spend a lot of time, because we've obviously got product marketing and sales here. We spend about 50% of time with clients on products, because like you say, without a great product, there's nothing to market, and there's very little to sell. But yes, a huge thing. So listen, Mikus, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it. Really enjoyed the conversation. I wonder, what are you up to now? What's next for you?
In terms of today, or like in the business?
Right now.
Right now, I think I have four more meetings today. So no tasks, just meetings.
Is it? And has that changed? Have they become more densely packed in the pandemic, in lockdown? Today's the first day of lockdown.
No, I think I manage my time way better right now, because it's you don't have the commutes in between. Everything goes on a Zoom video calls, and I pretty much enjoy this work style. I get way more done, so I've learned a lot through this process.
Brilliant. And a lot of no's to those yeses, to those few yeses, I'm sure.
Yeah, and it's easier to say no on a video call.
Distance. No, just, oh, sorry, I've closed it down. It's gone. What can I do?
Yeah.
Listen, thank you so much again. Really, really good to catch up. This has been the Growth Execution podcast. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. This is live every week on the Growth Execution group on Facebook, and then we release it on Saturday on the podcast too. So thanks once again to Mikus. Catch up with everybody pretty soon. Any questions, let us know. Mikus, thanks again.
Thanks, Mal.
See you.
Bye. Bye.